The space around the remote asteroid field was quiet, too quiet for Commander Tak's liking. His antenna twitched nervously as he stared at the main screen of the Confederation scout ship Seeker. "Confirm those readings again," he ordered, his four eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of stress among his species. Officer Lim, the ship's sensor expert, ran her tentacles over the control panel once more. "Confirmed, Commander. The unknown vessel is holding position behind the largest asteroid. Power signatures do not match any known design in our database." Tak clicked his mandibles together. After 20 cycles of service in the Galactic Confederation's Exploration Corps, he had learned to trust his instincts. Something about this situation felt wrong. "Full stop," he commanded. "Maintain sensor lock but keep our distance. Send the standard greeting package on all frequencies." The bridge crew worked in silence. The Seeker was the best in the Confederation fleet, a sleek blue-hulled vessel designed for first-contact situations. Its crew represented 5 different species, all chosen for their diplomatic skills and quick thinking. "No response to our greeting, Commander," reported Communications Officer Drill, her crystalline body shimmering with concern. Tak stood up from his command chair. "Magnify the image." The main screen changed to show a closer view of the mystery ship. It was unlike anything Tak had ever seen, a bulky, angular vessel with odd protrusions and what appeared to be crude armor plating. No elegant curves or biological integration like Confederation designs. This ship looked functional, brutally so. "Analysis?" Tak asked. Science Officer Plex floated forward, his gas-filled body pulsing with thought patterns. "Most unusual, Commander. The whole material appears extremely dense, and these readings." His voice trailed off. "What is it?" Tak pressed. "The internal environment of the vessel, sir. It should be impossible. The radiation levels alone would kill most known species. Temperature and pressure readings are extreme. Atmospheric composition includes elements toxic to nearly all Confederation races." A chill ran through the room. Every crew member knew what that meant. "A death world species," whispered Officer Lim. Tak felt his exoskeleton tighten. Death worlds were rare planets with conditions so harsh that evolution took a brutal, efficient path. Species from such worlds were dangerous, unpredictable. The Confederation had encountered only a few in its long history, and those encounters rarely ended peacefully. "Run a classification analysis," Tak ordered. Plex worked quickly, his gaseous form swirling faster with agitation. "Commander, the readings suggest Class 15. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Class 15, the highest designation in the Confederation threat scale. A world so deadly that most scientists believed intelligent life could not evolve there. "There must be an error," Tak said firmly. "Recalibrate and scan again." "Sir," interrupted Officer Drill, "the vessel is hailing us." Tak straightened his uniform. First contact procedures were clear. Despite his concerns, the Confederation valued peaceful interaction above all else. "On screen," he ordered. The screen remained blank, but a voice came through, speaking perfect Galactic standard. "Confederation vessel, this is Maintenance Technician Jack Wilson of the independent mining ship Persistence. You folks need something. You've been staring at us for the past 20 minutes." The casual tone left the bridge crew stunned. Tak recovered first. "This is Commander Tak of the Galactic Confederation ship Seeker. We detected your vessel and attempted standard greeting protocols." A laugh came through the speakers. "Oh, those beeps and whistles. Sorry about that. Our comm system filters out most non-human frequencies as noise. Force of habit from working near pulsars." Tak's antenna stiffened. "Non-human. You identify as human." "Last time I checked," the voice replied. "Look, we're in the middle of some routine maintenance. If you're not here to claim salvage rights on this asteroid field, we're all good, right?" Science Officer Plex floated closer to Tak. "Commander, humans are not registered in the Confederation database. This could be a first contact situation." Tak nodded. "Mr. Wilson, we would like to request permission to send a diplomatic party to your vessel." There was a pause before the human responded. Sure, though I should warn you we're running Earth-normal conditions in here. Might be uncomfortable for you folks." "Earth-normal?" Tak made a mental note of the likely home world designation. We will bring appropriate environmental gear, Tak assured him. Prepare to receive our shuttle in 1 standard hour. The boarding party consisted of Tak, Science Officer Plex, and Security Chief Mora, a reptilian with thick scales that offered better protection against harsh conditions. All 3 wore the most advanced environmental suits the Seeker could provide. As they approached in the shuttle, they got their first close look at the human vessel. It was even more primitive looking up close, covered in patches with visible welding seams and what appeared to be manual repair work. Their technology seems rudimentary, observed Mora. Yet they've achieved space travel and can communicate in our language, countered Tak. Never underestimate an unknown species. The shuttle docked with a clumsy thud against the human ship's airlock. After cycling through decontamination protocols, the inner door opened. The first sensation that hit them was the gravity, crushing and immediate. Tak felt his legs strain against the force despite his suit's compensators. The next was the heat, uncomfortable even through their protection. And there, standing casually in the airlock without any environmental gear, was a human. Tak's first impression was of surprising fragility. The creature was bipedal with no protective exoskeleton, no obvious defensive capabilities. It had patches of fur on parts of its head but otherwise seemed terribly exposed, only 2 eyes, no visible antenna or sensory organs. How could such a being survive on a Class 15 world? Welcome aboard, said the human, extending one of its upper limbs. I'm Jack. Sorry about the mess, wasn't expecting company. Tak stared at the offered limb, uncertain of the protocol. Jack lowered his hand. Right, different customs. Come on in, I've cleared some space in the common area. He turned and walked away, clearly expecting them to follow. The Confederation team moved awkwardly in the heavy gravity, their suits whirring with the effort of keeping them mobile. The interior of the ship was a shock, tools floated in secured nets, panels were open exposing circuitry, and containers of what Plex's scanner identified as highly corrosive chemicals sat casually on workbenches. The air, which Jack breathed freely, would have dissolved Tak's respiratory system in seconds. They reached a small room with mismatched furniture. Jack gestured towards some reinforced chairs. Have a seat if you'd like. Can I get you anything? Coffee. Water. He paused. Though I guess you're good in those suits, huh? Thank you, but we are adequately prepared, Tak replied formally. Mr. Wilson, may I ask how long humans have been traveling in this sector? Jack shrugged, a rolling motion of his upper body that the translator couldn't quite interpret. Me personally. About 3 years. Humanity in general. We've been poking around the stars for about 50 years now. Plex's gas body swirled in surprise. 50 years without contacting the Confederation. Jack smiled. No offense, but your Confederation seems like a lot of paperwork and politics. We humans tend to prefer just doing our own thing. And what thing is that? Asked Mora, the security chief's hand resting near her weapon. Whatever needs doing, Jack replied simply. Mining, exploration, science. This particular rock has some rare minerals we use for engine parts. Tak noticed something odd about the room. On the wall hung what appeared to be images of landscapes, but landscapes no sane being would consider hospitable: boiling seas of lava, ice plains whipped by toxic storms, jagged mountains under radiation-blasted skies. Are these artistic representations? Tak asked, pointing to the images. Jack glanced at them. Nah, just some vacation photos. That's Yellowstone, that's Antarctica during a nice winter day, and that's just outside Dubai during summer. He smiled with what appeared to be fond memories. Nothing like hiking through Death Valley to clear your head, you know. The Confederation team exchanged glances through their faceplates. These vacation destinations would kill most known sentient beings within minutes. And suddenly, Tak understood why the human showed no fear, no concern about their presence. To a species that evolved on a Class 15 death world, very little in the galaxy would seem truly threatening. The implications were both fascinating and terrifying. Director Noir paced the length of the Confederation Council chamber, her slender form casting a long shadow across the polished floor. The emergency session had been called within hours of receiving Commander Tak's report, and now all 12 members of the High Council sat in uncomfortable silence. Play the recording again, she ordered, her voice sharp with tension. The holographic display in the center of the circular chamber flickered to life. Commander Tak's image appeared, his exoskeleton visibly stressed even through the environmental suit. "High Council, my team has confirmed our initial findings," Tak's recorded voice reported. "The humans originate from a planet they call Earth, a world with conditions that would be lethal to 98% of Confederation species, gravity at 9.8 units, oxygen levels that would cause toxic reactions in most lungs, radiation from their sun that would damage genetic material of unprotected beings, and temperature swings of over 150 standard units across their planet's surface." The council members shifted uneasily in their seats. "Most concerning," Tak continued, "is the casual manner in which these humans approach what we would consider extreme danger. During our visit to their ship, the human Jack Wilson handled barehanded what our sensors identified as acids strong enough to dissolve metal. When asked about it, he simply showed us what he called minor chemical burns on his outer tissue, injuries that would be life-threatening to most of us." Director Noir paused the recording. "This cannot be overstated, council members. We are potentially dealing with a Class 15 Death World species that has been traveling our space undetected for decades." Councillor Vrim, whose crystalline body sparkled under the chamber lights, spoke first. "How is this possible? Our survey ships would have located their home world." "According to the human," Noir replied, "Earth was charted by our ancestors over 500 years ago and classified as uninhabitable. No follow-up surveys were ever conducted because the initial readings suggested no chance of intelligent life evolving there." A murmur ran through the chamber. The oldest council member, Zoe, leaned forward on his hover platform. His species was ancient, with memories dating back thousands of years. "I recall the designation," Zoe said slowly. "System 47329B. The survey team reported extreme conditions, crushing gravity, violent weather patterns, unstable tectonics, aggressive predators, and high background radiation. They recommended a permanent quarantine." "Which was clearly ineffective," noted Councillor Foz, tapping her claws nervously on the table. Director Noir nodded grimly. "The humans have not only survived their world, they've mastered space travel with what appears to be relatively primitive technology. The implications are concerning." The chamber fell silent as the council members contemplated what this meant. Most intelligent species in the Confederation had evolved on gentle worlds, stable environments that allowed for the development of philosophy, art, and science without the constant pressure of survival. The few Death World species they had encountered were primitive, aggressive, and usually self-destructed before achieving space travel. But humans had done the impossible, and they had been watching the Confederation unnoticed for years. "We must establish formal diplomatic contact immediately," said Councillor Vrim, "before they perceive our lack of awareness as weakness." Director Noir nodded. "I've already selected Diplomat Mira for this mission. Her species is among our most adaptable, and she has experience with unusual first contact scenarios." "Diplomatic measures are prudent," agreed Zoe, "but we must also prepare for less favorable outcomes. A species forged in such harsh conditions may not share our commitment to peaceful coexistence." Noir hesitated before responding. "I have discreetly instructed Military Commander Rex to develop containment protocols, just as a precaution." Several council members looked uncomfortable with this approach, but none objected outright. "How many of these humans are there?" asked Councillor Foz. Director Noir's expression grew even more serious. "According to what the human Jack told Commander Tak. Billions." The word hung heavy in the air. Most Confederation member species numbered in the millions at most, their populations carefully balanced with their environments. Billions of Death World survivors was almost unthinkable. "The briefing continues," Noir said, resuming the recording. Commander Tak's image continued. "The human claims they have colonies on multiple worlds in their home system, as well as outposts in at least 5 neighboring systems. None of these appear in our official records, suggesting they may be using some form of stealth technology or perhaps operating in regions we consider too hazardous for routine patrols. This meeting is now classified at the highest security level," Director Noir announced when the recording finished. "We must proceed carefully. If humans truly are as resilient as they appear, they could pose an unprecedented challenge to Confederation security." 3 days later, aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel Harmony, Diplomat Mira received her final briefing from Director Noir via secure transmission. "Remember," Noir emphasized, her holographic image flickering slightly, "your official mission is to establish peaceful relations and invite Earth to join the Confederation." Under no circumstances are you to reveal our concerns about their physiological capabilities. Mira nodded, her forearms completing the formal gesture of understanding. Her species, the Talon, were known for their adaptability to different environments, though even she would need an environmental suit to survive what humans called room temperature. And the unofficial mission, she asked quietly. Assess their true capabilities and intentions, Noir replied. Commander Rex will accompany you, ostensibly as a security attachment. His real purpose is to evaluate their military potential. Mira's skin changed color slightly, showing her discomfort with the deception. And Dr. Ben, our foremost xenobiologist, he will study how these humans function in conditions that should, by all understanding, be lethal. The findings could be crucial for our future security planning. The transmission ended, leaving Mira alone with her thoughts. In her centuries of diplomatic service, she had never faced a situation quite like this. Most first contacts were with fragile, newly spacefaring species seeking the Confederation's protection. Never had they encountered a species that might not need protection at all. Meanwhile, aboard the human vessel Dauntless, Admiral Tom reviewed the message from the Confederation for the third time. They're sending a diplomatic team, he told the officers gathered in the ship's conference room, including military and scientific personnel. Captain Will, a veteran of the Mars conflicts, crossed his arms. Took them long enough to notice us. We've been watching their ships pass through this sector for the past 15 years. Should we be concerned? Asked Dr. Lisa, the ship's chief medical officer. Our intelligence suggests their technology exceeds ours in several areas. Admiral Tom leaned back in his chair, considering the question. At 60 years old, he had spent most of his life in space, watching humanity's quiet expansion among the stars. He had always known this day would come, when their solitary exploration would intersect with the larger galactic community. Their tech might be more advanced, he said finally, but their mindset isn't. Their report suggests they see us as something dangerous, a death world species, they call us. He smiled slightly. They're not wrong, in a way. Earth forged us through millions of years of survival challenges they never faced. So what's our approach? Asked Captain Will. Admiral Tom stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. After a moment of thought, he turned back to his officers with a decision that would forever change humanity's place in the galaxy. We invite them to Earth, he said simply. The room erupted in surprised comments. Sir, protested the security chief. Our home world defenses won't be necessary, Tom interrupted. We're not fighting a war here. We're making a point. He smiled again, more broadly this time. Let them see firsthand what humans consider normal. Let them understand that what they fear about us is exactly what will make us valuable allies. He turned back to the viewport, his expression thoughtful. Besides, he added quietly, they should know what they're dealing with before they do something foolish. Earth has never fallen to invaders. I'd hate for the Confederation to learn that lesson the hard way. Diplomat Mira stood at the viewing port of the Confederation shuttle, watching as the massive human vessel grew larger against the backdrop of stars. The Dauntless, as the humans called it, lacked the elegant biomechanical design of Confederation ships. Instead, it was all hard angles and practical function, a brutal testament to the species that built it. Quite ugly, isn't it? Said Commander Rex, coming to stand beside her. His armored exoskeleton clicked softly as he moved. Different, Mira corrected him. Their aesthetic values likely evolved from different needs than ours. Dr. Ben floated up behind them, his gas-filled body glowing with nervous energy. I still can't believe we're actually going to their home world. The data we'll collect will be revolutionary. The Confederation team consisted of 12 members, Diplomat Mira as leader, Commander Rex with 4 security officers, Dr. Ben and 2 other scientists, and 3 communication specialists. All wore the most advanced environmental protection suits ever designed, capable of withstanding conditions far beyond what any normal mission would require. Remember the briefing, Mira said quietly. Show no fear, no matter what you witness. These humans must not perceive weakness. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud against the human ship. After a series of mechanical sounds, the airlock door slid open to reveal a tall human male in a crisp blue uniform, decorated with small metal symbols. Welcome aboard the Dauntless, the human said with a slight bow. I'm Admiral Tom, Earth Defense Force. We're honored to host the first official Confederation delegation to human space. Mira stepped forward, performing the formal 12-tentacled greeting of the Confederation. The honor is ours, Admiral. I am Diplomat Mira, and these are my colleagues. After introductions, Admiral Tom led them through the ship's corridors. Unlike the confined spaces of Confederation vessels, the human ship featured wide hallways and high ceilings, a surprising luxury in space design. We've prepared a special section of the ship for your comfort, Admiral Tom explained. The environmental controls have been adjusted to match Confederation standard conditions. That's very considerate, Mira replied, noting the apparent thoughtfulness. Most emerging species wouldn't have considered such accommodations. It's no trouble, the Admiral said with a smile. Though I should mention that the rest of the ship maintains Earth-normal conditions. If you wish to explore beyond your quarters, your environmental suits will be necessary. As they passed a large viewport, Commander Rex suddenly stopped. Outside, a team of humans was working on the ship's exterior, wearing only thin suits that could barely be called protective. One worker actually had his helmet off, holding it under his arm while he welded a panel with his free hand. He was exposed to the vacuum of space with nothing covering his head, yet seemed perfectly comfortable. Is that worker in danger? Rex asked, failing to hide his shock. Admiral Tom glanced outside. Oh, that's just Max. He's testing our new emergency repair suits. They generate a small force field around the head that holds in breathable air. 15-minute oxygen supply, but it's enough for quick fixes. He's breathing in space, Dr. Ben said, his gaseous form swirling rapidly with excitement. Only for short periods, Admiral Tom clarified, as if that somehow made the feat less extraordinary. We're still working out some issues with radiation protection, so we don't recommend longer exposures yet. The Confederation team exchanged glances through their helmet visors. What the humans considered a technical limitation would be a revolutionary advancement for most species. The journey to Earth would take 4 days at standard speed. On the second day, Mira requested a tour of the ship's facilities. Admiral Tom agreed readily, assigning Captain Will as their guide. This is our recreation level, Captain Will explained as they entered a large open area. Various humans were engaged in different activities, some lifting heavy weights, others sparring in designated circles, and a few swimming in a pool of clear liquid. Is that water? Asked Dr. Ben, floating closer to the pool. Pure H2O. Yes, Captain Will confirmed. Why do you ask? Dr. Ben's body pulsed with concern. But water is highly corrosive to most carbon-based life. How can they immerse themselves in it? Captain Will laughed. Our bodies are mostly water. It's essential for our survival. The revelation sent ripples of discomfort through the Confederation team, a species that not only survived exposure to a universal solvent but was actually composed of it. The implications were disturbing. As they continued the tour, they passed what Captain Will called the emergency training room. Inside, humans in minimal protective gear moved through corridors filled with actual fire, toxic gas, and what appeared to be harmful radiation. This is a drill for vacuum exposure after hull breach, Will explained casually. We run these scenarios daily. These conditions would kill most species instantly, Commander Rex observed, unable to hide his military assessment. That's kind of the point of training, Will replied with a shrug. If it can't kill you, you're not learning anything useful. The captain's words hung in the air, a chilling reminder of how differently humans viewed danger. On the third day, disaster struck. The ship encountered a stellar storm, a massive wave of radiation and charged particles that hit without warning. Alarms blared throughout the vessel, and the Confederation delegates were quickly ushered to a secure room. Will the ship's shields hold? Mira asked anxiously as they huddled in the protected chamber. Before anyone could answer, the ship's lighting flickered, then stabilized. The translator in Mira's suit struggled to keep up with the rapid communications between crew members outside. Shield Generator 3 is down, came a human voice over the intercom. Engineering teams to Deck 6. Radiation levels rising in Sectors 4 through 7. Commander Rex activated his suit sensors. The radiation out there is at least 50 times what most Confederation species could survive, even with protection. Minutes later, the door opened and a human crew member entered without any environmental gear. His skin showed signs of reddening, like a mild burn. Admiral sends his apologies for the inconvenience, the human said casually. We've had to reroute power from your environmental controls to strengthen the remaining shields. It might get a bit warm in here for the next hour. A bit warm turned out to be an increase of nearly 20 degrees, well within the range of their suit's capabilities, but shocking that the humans would consider such a drastic change minor. Are the repair teams safe? Asked Dr. Ben. The radiation levels we're detecting. Oh, they'll be fine, the crew member interrupted. Might need some meds for radiation exposure afterward, but nothing serious. This isn't even close to our safety limits. After the human left, Mira turned to her colleagues. This is what Director Noir feared. What appears life-threatening to us is merely inconvenient to them. By the time they reached Earth orbit on the fourth day, the Confederation team had witnessed a dozen more examples of human resilience. They had seen crew members handle materials barehanded that would burn through Confederation protective gear. They had observed humans consuming foods that contained compounds toxic to most other species. They had even watched a training exercise where humans deliberately exposed themselves to vacuum conditions to practice emergency protocols. But nothing prepared them for their first view of Earth itself. The planet hung in space, a blue-white sphere mottled with swirling storm systems and vibrant continents. Where most life-bearing worlds known to the Confederation were placid and stable, Earth was visibly dynamic, weather patterns shifting even as they watched, oceans churning with massive currents, entire regions glowing with electrical storms. Home sweet home, Admiral Tom said proudly as the delegates stared in stunned silence. We'll be landing at the Pacific Northwestern spaceport. The weather is particularly mild there this time of year, should be comfortable even in your suits. What do you consider mild, Admiral? Mira asked carefully. Oh, just light rain, temperatures around 15 degrees Celsius, normal gravity of course. Nothing extreme. Dr. Ben's sensors were already going wild with readings. Admiral, those conditions would be considered survival-level emergency situations on most Confederation worlds. Admiral Tom looked genuinely surprised. Really? But that's practically pleasant weather. He paused, seeming to reconsider something. Perhaps we should arrange a more controlled environment for your first visit to the surface. We have biodomes that can be adjusted to your needs. That would be appreciated, Mira said quickly, before any of her team could object. She needed to observe these humans in their natural habitat, but she also needed her team alive to report what they found. As the ship began its descent through Earth's turbulent atmosphere, Mira couldn't help but wonder if the Confederation had made a terrible mistake in not discovering humans sooner. What other surprises might this Death World species have in store? For the first time in her long diplomatic career, she felt genuine fear about what lay ahead. The Confederation shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere with a constant vibration that set the delegates' nerves on edge. Outside the reinforced windows, lightning flashed through angry clouds, and rain lashed against the hull with surprising force. Just a small storm system, the human pilot said cheerfully. Nothing to worry about. Diplomat Mira exchanged glances with Commander Rex. What humans considered small had already registered as catastrophic on their environmental sensors. The shuttle broke through the cloud layer, revealing the landscape below. The Pacific Northwestern spaceport was built on a flat plain surrounded by towering mountains. Rivers cut through the terrain, and dense forests of tall green plants covered much of the land. To human eyes, it might have appeared peaceful. To the Confederation delegates, it was a scene of barely contained chaos. Atmospheric analysis complete, Dr. Ben reported, his gaseous form swirling nervously in his containment suit. Oxygen levels at 21%, toxic to 7 known Confederation species. Nitrogen at 78%, harmful to 5 species. Various contaminants including water vapor at levels that would cause respiratory failure in most beings. And this is what they breathe naturally, Commander Rex noted, his military mind already calculating the implications. Their shuttle landed on a designated pad where a human delegation waited under the open sky. The humans were no protection against the rain that fell steadily around them, only simple cloth coverings that were becoming visibly wet. They're allowing the water to touch their skin, one of the science team whispered in horror. Admiral Tom, who had traveled down ahead of them, stepped forward as the shuttle door opened. Welcome to Earth, he said proudly. I hope your journey was comfortable. Quite educational, Diplomat Mira replied carefully. The Confederation team hesitated at the shuttle doorway. Their sensors showed conditions outside that would require the highest level of their environmental protection. Cautiously, they activated their suit's force field enhancements and stepped onto Earth's surface. Even through the technology designed to mitigate alien environments, they could feel the crushing pull of Earth's gravity. It was significantly stronger than anything they had evolved to withstand, making each step an effort. "We've prepared the Environmental Adaptation Center for your comfort," said a female human who introduced herself as Dr. Emma, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "You'll be able to observe our world while remaining in safer conditions." The center turned out to be a massive transparent dome filled with adjustable environments. Once inside, the delegates were led to a section where the conditions had been altered to match Confederation standards: lower gravity, filtered air, and comfortable temperature ranges. "You can remove your suits here if you wish," Dr. Emma suggested, though many visitors prefer to keep them on for their first Earth visit. Commander Rex kept his suit sealed, but Diplomat Mira decided to extend a diplomatic gesture by removing her helmet. The air tasted strange but tolerable, processed to remove the more harmful elements. "Now," Admiral Tom said, "we've arranged a tour schedule that should give you a comprehensive understanding of Earth and humanity. We'll start with a virtual overview, then move to..." He was interrupted by a sudden tremor that shook the entire building. The Confederation delegates froze in terror as the floor beneath them vibrated. Warning alarms blared from their suit's sensors. "Tectonic shift!" Dr. Ben exclaimed, his body contracting into a defensive ball. "The planet's crust is moving." The humans, by contrast, barely reacted. Admiral Tom glanced at a data pad handed to him by an aide. "Just a small earthquake, magnitude 4.2, he said casually. "Nothing to be concerned about. The building is designed to handle much stronger events." "You mean this happens regularly?" Commander Rex asked, his combat reflexes still on high alert. "Oh yes, this region experiences hundreds of minor tremors annually. The really interesting ones are magnitude 7 or higher, but those only happen every few years." The delegates stared at him in disbelief. On their worlds, any planetary instability would trigger immediate evacuation protocols. Dr. Emma, noticing their distress, tried to reassure them. "Perhaps we should continue with the presentation. We can explain how Earth's geological activity actually benefits life here." The meeting moved to a conference room where humans served food and drinks, all safely processed for Confederation consumption. As Admiral Tom began his presentation on Earth's history, another tremor struck, stronger than the first. Glasses tipped over, spilling liquid across the table. A decorative plant fell from a shelf, its container breaking on the floor. The humans simply steadied their own items, wiped up spills, and continued their conversations without pause. "Please excuse the interruption," Admiral Tom said, picking up the fallen plant. "As I was saying, humans evolved on Earth over millions of years, adapting to its constantly changing conditions." Diplomat Mira could barely focus on his words. Her species prized stability above all things. Their home world hadn't experienced significant geological activity in 10,000 years. Yet these humans lived on a planet that shook itself apart regularly and considered it normal. During the lunch break, Dr. Ben approached Dr. Emma with questions that had been troubling him since their arrival. "I've been analyzing your biological readings," he said, his translator struggling to convey scientific terms. "Your cellular structure is unlike anything in our database. Your bodies appear to actually strengthen under stress conditions." Dr. Emma nodded. "That's correct. Human physiology operates on a principle of adaptive response. Our muscles grow stronger when damaged by exercise. Our immune systems become more effective after fighting pathogens. Even our bones increase density when subjected to gravity stress." "You get stronger from damage?" Dr. Ben's gas body pulsed with surprise. "Within limits, yes. We call it hormesis, the principle that moderates stress improves biological function." She smiled. "It's why we have sayings like, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.'" Dr. Ben recorded everything, his scientific mind racing with implications. A species that improved through struggle would have a fundamentally different psychology than Confederation members, who evolved to avoid stress whenever possible. That evening, the human hosts organized what they called a state dinner to honor the Confederation delegation. The event was held in a grand hall with views of a mountain range, peaks so tall they contained multiple climate zones in a single formation. As the delegates tried to focus on diplomatic niceties, a sound like rolling thunder filled the room. The floor began to shake violently, causing decorations to fall and lights to flicker. "Earthquake," someone shouted. "Magnitude 6.8. The Confederation team immediately activated emergency protocols, their suits enhancing to maximum protection. They watched in shock as the humans calmly moved to secure loose objects, guided guests away from windows, and continued their conversations under swaying light fixtures. Admiral Tom actually laughed as he caught a falling glass. "Perfect timing," he said to Diplomat Mira. "You get to experience a proper Pacific Northwest welcome." "You're not evacuating?" she asked incredulously. "For this? No need. The building is rated for magnitude 9.2 events." He gestured to the structure around them. "These support columns can flex up to 30 degrees without failing. The foundation is anchored 200 m into bedrock." The shaking continued for nearly a minute before gradually subsiding. When it ended, the humans simply straightened the furniture, picked up fallen items, and resumed the dinner as if nothing significant had happened. Diplomat Mira watched in stunned silence as Admiral Tom clinked a spoon against his glass to get attention. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored delegates," he announced. "Please forgive nature's interruption. As I was about to say before our little geological event, we welcome the Confederation to Earth and look forward to a relationship that recognizes our different evolutionary paths as strengths rather than barriers." Commander Rex leaned close to Mira. "Now I understand Director Noir's concerns," he whispered. "A species that considers planetary upheaval a minor inconvenience would be unstoppable in combat." Dr. Ben joined them, his sensors still recording everything. "It's not just their physical resilience," he added. "I've been analyzing their neural responses when exposed to conditions we find terrifying. Their brains show patterns consistent with excitement. For humans, danger appears to be stimulating rather than frightening." As the dinner continued, Mira observed the humans more carefully. They laughed, argued, and formed connections easily, even with beings utterly unlike themselves. Their comfort with chaos extended beyond the physical realm, they seemed to thrive on the unpredictable. By the end of the night, she had reached a conclusion that would change the Confederation forever. Humans didn't just survive on their death world, they loved it. And that made them either the most valuable allies or the most dangerous enemies the galaxy had ever known. Director Noir stood motionless as the holographic presentation ended. The Confederation Council chamber had never been so quiet. For nearly 2 hours, they had watched the reports from Earth, and now 24 eyes, tentacles, sensory organs, and various alien appendages turned toward her, waiting for guidance. "The evidence is clear," Council Member Zoe said finally, breaking the silence. "These humans are more dangerous than we initially feared." The reports from Diplomat Mira, Commander Rex, and Dr. Ben painted a disturbing picture. Humans not only survived conditions that would kill most Confederation species instantly, they deliberately sought out such dangers for what they called recreation. Their bodies actually grew stronger when damaged. Their technology, while less advanced in some areas, was built to withstand forces that would destroy Confederation equipment. "I propose immediate containment protocols," said Council Member Foz, her claws clicking nervously on the table. "We must establish a defensive perimeter around their territory before they expand further." Several council members nodded in agreement, but Councillor Vrim raised a crystalline limb in objection. "The reports also indicate humans have shown no aggression toward our delegation. They have been open, even welcoming." "A tactical decision, perhaps," countered Commander Dax, who had joined the meeting as military advisor. "If I commanded a species with their capabilities, I would want potential adversaries to underestimate me as well." Director Noir finally spoke. "The Confederation has existed for 12,000 years. In that time, we have encountered 17 Death World species. 15 destroyed themselves before achieving space travel. The other 2 became violent expansionists that we were forced to contain." Her voice grew quieter. "But humans are different. They've achieved space travel without self-destruction and expanded without conquest." "That we know of," Commander Dax interjected. "Indeed," Noir acknowledged, "which is why I've authorized Admiral Tom's invitation for the Confederation leadership to witness what he calls a demonstration of human capabilities." Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. "What kind of demonstration?" asked Zoe cautiously. "A simulated emergency on their lunar colony," Noir explained. Admiral Tom claims it will help us understand humanity's potential value to the Confederation. It could also be a trap, Commander Dax warned. Noir's expression hardened. Which is why only I will attend, along with a small security team. The rest of the Council will observe via secure transmission. Despite numerous objections, the decision was made. 3 days later, Director Noir's personal vessel approached Earth's moon, a barren, airless satellite that humans had somehow transformed into a habitable outpost. The lunar base, Armstrong, was a sprawling complex of domes and underground facilities. Through the viewport of the landing bay, Director Noir could see the harsh lunar landscape, cratered, dusty, and bathed in unfiltered solar radiation. No atmosphere, extreme temperature swings, and constant bombardment by micrometeorites, yet humans had lived here continuously for over 40 years. Admiral Tom greeted her as she disembarked. "Director, thank you for coming. The demonstration is prepared. If you and your team will follow me to the observation room, we can begin." The observation room overlooked a large dome that contained what appeared to be a miniature Earth environment, plants, water, and structures. Admiral Tom explained the scenario as they took their seats. "What you're about to witness is a Level 2 emergency response. We'll simulate a meteor strike on Dome Sector 7, causing atmospheric decompression, radiation exposure, structural damage, and potential nuclear containment failure." Director Noir's translator struggled to find appropriate terms for a reaction. "You're deliberately creating a nuclear incident." "A simulated one," Admiral Tom clarified. "The reactor containment won't actually fail, but the response teams will act as if it might." Before she could object further, alarms blared throughout the facility. On a large screen, they watched as a controlled explosion breached the dome's outer shell. Air visibly rushed out, plants began to wither, and warning lights flashed everywhere. What happened next left Director Noir speechless. Human emergency teams rushed toward the disaster, not away from it. Some wore what appeared to be minimal protective gear, while others had no visible protection at all. They moved with practiced efficiency through conditions that would kill most Confederation species in seconds. "Those people in the red suits have no oxygen supply," Admiral Tom narrated calmly. "They can hold their breath for up to 4 minutes while performing emergency repairs in vacuum." On screen, humans physically lifted collapsed structural beams, working together to stabilize the dome. Others dragged injured people to safety, sometimes carrying 2 or 3 at once in the low lunar gravity. "The team entering the reactor chamber will absorb approximately 50 times the radiation a Confederation being could survive," Admiral Tom continued. "They'll need medical treatment afterward, but most will return to duty within 2 weeks." Director Noir watched as humans intentionally exposed themselves to what her species would consider certain death, all to save others of their kind. It defied every prediction the Confederation had made about death world psychology. "I don't understand," she admitted finally. "Our models suggest death world species should prioritize individual survival above all else. Yet these humans are deliberately risking death." Admiral Tom smiled slightly. "That's because your models are based on a fundamental misunderstanding. We don't just survive on our death world, we are shaped by it. Earth taught humanity a crucial lesson: together we are stronger than alone." As the demonstration concluded, Admiral Tom led Director Noir to a secure conference room. There, he revealed information that changed everything. "Director, humanity has encountered 3 other species from what you call death worlds," he said, activating a holographic display. Images appeared of alien beings with tough exoskeletons, powerful limbs, and formidable natural weapons. "The Taurans from Proxima Centauri b," he explained, indicating a creature that resembled an Earth insect but stood as tall as a human. "The Dwarven from Kepler 442b, this being had thick armored skin and multiple limbs, and the Nex from Wolf 1061c. The third species looked almost reptilian, with sharp claws and a powerful tail. All were considered too dangerous for contact by your Confederation," Admiral Tom continued. "All were left to develop in isolation, and all are now part of a mutual defense alliance with humanity." Director Noir struggled to process the implications. "You've built an alliance of death world species." "We prefer high-gravity adaptive species coalition," Admiral Tom replied. "And yes, we've found that species who evolve in challenging environments share certain values: resilience, adaptability, and a strong preference for peaceful cooperation despite having the biological tools for effective warfare." He leaned forward. "Director, your Confederation has been avoiding the very species that could help you survive true catastrophes, supernovas, gamma-ray bursts, cosmic collisions, events that would overwhelm your environmental technology but that our species are literally born to endure. Director Noir was silent for a long moment. You're proposing an alliance between our organizations. More than that, Admiral Tom said. I'm proposing a fundamental shift in how the galaxy understands evolutionary paths. What you call death worlds have produced species with unique capabilities the Confederation needs. He activated another holographic display showing incidents throughout Confederation history, ecological disasters, space station failures, planetary emergencies where thousands had died because no one could survive the conditions long enough to help. Now imagine human emergency teams responding to these situations, he suggested. Or Tauran engineers building structures that could withstand forces your materials can't. Or dwarven scientists developing medicines that work at the cellular level your species can't even approach safely. As the conversation continued into the lunar night, Director Noir's perspective began to shift. The humans weren't a threat to be contained, they were protectors who could reach places in the universe no other advanced species could survive. 1 month later, the Galactic Confederation signed the first formal treaty with the High-Gravity Adaptive Species Coalition. Under its terms, human emergency response teams would be stationed throughout Confederation space, ready to respond to disasters no other species could survive. In return, the Confederation would share its advanced technology and open trade relations with all coalition worlds. Both organizations would remain independent but allied, each recognizing the unique evolutionary advantages the other brought to the galaxy. As Director Noir watched the human delegation celebrate the treaty signing by opening bottles of what they called champagne, a liquid that contained enough alcohol to be used as industrial solvent on some Confederation worlds, she reflected on how thoroughly her assumptions had been challenged. The galaxy's most dangerous species had turned out to be its greatest protectors, and the Confederation, for all its advancement, had been humbled by beings from a world it had once dismissed as too hostile for intelligent life. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of irony after all.